Good morning and welcome back to Mobility Matters. I'm your host, Javier Betancourt, Executive Director of the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust, or CITT. We're the quasi-independent agency of Miami-Dade County charged with overseeing your half-penny sales tax for transportation. So as a reminder, that money is used for transportation projects and programs throughout the county. About 80% goes to the county, and another 20% or so is distributed to all of our 34 municipalities for their use in helping their residents and citizens move about their towns. And so one of the concepts that the CITT is trying to engage in is bringing the municipalities and the county closer together, integrating the systems so that we have one interconnected transportation network and not 30 or 40 something different networks kind of working independently of each other. To that end, we commissioned our strategic consultants, who are our guests today, to conduct a study on this topic and offer solutions. So I want to welcome to the show my two guests today. We have Jesús Fuentes with EXP.
Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for being here. Jesús, remind me, what is your title there?
I'm a senior project engineer, and I do bike bed, transit, and multimodal.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Well, thank you for being on the program, Jesús. And then as sub-consultant to EXP, we have Jonathan. Jonathan, I'm sorry, I already forgot the name of your company and your title, please.
So, Javier, good to see you this morning. I'm Jonathan Hopkins. I'm the CEO founder of Smart Mobility Associates. We basically help start and run TMAs.
Great. And you guys both have many years, not to age you, but many years in the industry. You're experts at this subject matter. So tell us a little bit about your background. You're an engineer, I believe, Jesús?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm an engineer by trade, I guess, but I'm a planner. I call myself a planner. I started...
That's why we get along.
Yeah. I started my career in the Mobility 2000s. That's when we used to widen Palm Beach County I-95 sections back in the beginning of the millennium. And then 10 years ago, I started doing the bike bed infrastructure that started to come from Washington. And I did the first bike lanes, one of the first bike lanes in Broward County.
Cool.
And then it was the first complete street designed by FDOT, and then the first roundabout designed by FDOT, and then I did a bunch of mobility projects all over Broward County and also in Palm Beach County. And then...
was that working with FDOT or you were a consultant too?
No, I was a consultant as well. And then after that, I came to work in-house at the Miami-Dade TPO as an in-house consultant, augmentation of their staff. And I've, been grateful to be there and learn a lot and do a lot of things. But my expertise is mostly about bikes, transit, connections with that, bikes and trains. Multimodal, yeah. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
And Jonathan, tell us about your background.
Yeah, so interesting. I'm originally an Army veteran, but
Thank you for your service, sir. Appreciate it.
I'm here because at 5 years old, I wanted to be a city bus driver for Pierce Transit in Tacoma, Washington.
Didn't we all?
Right.
It's either a train operator, bus driver, or firefighter, I think.
Pierce Transit is also everybody's favorite agency. So I wanted to do that. So when I got out of the military, I ended up working at Uber, at Lime. I led Commute Seattle, which is probably the second largest TMA in the country, that had some really audacious
And we'll talk
stats.
about what a TMA is. That's kind of our topic for today, but we'll get there. Go ahead.
And so this is, just an exemplary public-private partnership that was able to add 100,000 jobs in downtown through partnership without adding any traffic.
Wow.
Which is just really stunning. So
it sounds literally unbelievable, but it can be done.
It can be done. And I also advocated for one of the nation's, the second largest transit measure in the country that raised about $50 billion for sound transit. On the side, that was volunteer work. Since then, I ended up down in Miami, worked for Brightline for a couple of years as their VP of mobility, and then I started my own firm. So I get to do my favorite stuff. We have the honor of working with EXP on some projects. So that's what brings us here.
Fantastic. So you already kind of opened the door to it, so we'll go straight into TMA. So Transportation Management Associations. It's a concept that has been around. As you noted, there are many cities throughout the country that have these organizations. We don't currently have any in Miami, but I believe we had one in Miami Beach many years ago. There are some examples I know in the state, such as in Palm Beach, right? Where you manage an existing TMA. So let's start with, so we commissioned the study, right? Given your expertise in these matters, we asked you to look into what are TMAs, how are they structured, what kind of services, project programs
Right.
do they produce or run? And then, do they make sense here in Miami? And if so, where? So let's start off with, what is a TMA? For those who don't know, which might be most people.
You want to take that
You know,
one?
really, like the TMA is kind of like this magic sauce of public-private partnership,
Right.
And that is the magic.
Yeah.
That when things get hard, like it pays to work together better, right? And so the TMA really becomes this venue where the public sector and employers and other community partners can come to the table to solve this problem that none of them own entirely. It's kind of like making stone soup, but for reducing congestion. And so this public-private partnership, they can look different in different places,
Right.
but they're really founded to achieve the priorities of that collected group. Everybody hates congestion, and there's a bunch of different ways to solve that, but when people work together, it'll get solved better, and that's really what it comes down to.
So they're literally kind of nonprofit organizations,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
generally speaking, or they fall. Sometimes an agency might manage
Correct.
them, right?
And then in their study, what we looked at is what is the best model that could be applied for Miami-Dade County, given the context of Miami-Dade County, which is very different from Broward or Palm Beach.
Sure.
So we looked at different TMAs throughout the country.
Yeah.
Some of them are very large. Some of them are very hyper-local. We feel that because of the diversity in Miami-Dade County, we feel that hyper-local TMAs will work better, because that way you can have a much better outcome as a result of the goals that you set as a TMA, and then you can have results, and then people can continue working on towards reducing congestion. So we looked at different areas throughout the county, and then we look at specific locations where this will make sense. No, all locations will make sense, of course, but we have some specific dynamics that makes it a fruitful territory for a TMA when you have those specific partnerships aligned from all different parts of walks and talks. You have nonprofits, you have government agencies, you have developers like they have it in West Palm, or you have government agencies, whether it is the county, a municipality, or could be even FDOT. So we currently have a TMA in South Florida at a more broad regional level, which is the South Florida Commuter Services. That is a program that is being handled by FDOT. And
Shout out to Jeremy Mullins.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, Jeremy.
Yeah, hi Jeremy. But they handle a lot of the commuter throughout South Florida, from
Right.
Palm Beach all the way. I think even further than Palm Beach, all the way
7
down,
counties.
to Miami. So when you have such a large area, it makes it difficult
Sure.
to. So we think that having a hyper-local approach is much more fruitful than a much better
And
picture.
there's really good models for this.
Yeah.
Like Georgia Commute Solutions is the same as South Florida Commuter Services in many ways, and then they have about 5 TMAs in the Atlanta area.
They complement one
they
another.
complement.
It's not like
Exactly.
we're duplicating.
One
Right.
does like stuff that makes sense at a broad scale, which is like helping with van pool,
Right.
And some carpooling things and distribution of certain benefits. But another part of the special sauce of TMAs is knowing their customers, which are their partners, employers, public and private, and their nonprofit partners. So they have to know their community well. So that's where,
Right.
duplicating what the Denver area does, the Atlanta area does, what the Boston area does, and I guess Minneapolis also does this, where you have some regional support that does the things that make sense at a broad level, and then at the local level you have folks working usually in conjunction with a business district,
Right.
like a DDA here or a chamber.
And what he mentioned about the community needs is important,
Yeah.
because one community might be very different from the other.
Yeah.
And we can give it like the downtown area, the needs of downtown and the TMAs might be completely different from Coral Gables or South Miami or South Dade, for example,
Yeah.
now that they have a new Metro Express service. So it is very different, and using the local context is extremely important when you're establishing these TMAs,
Right.
because you don't want to have it doesn't work like copy and pasting from one place to another. It has to be if you're doing it in a hyper local level, you have to cater to the specific needs of that community, and that's important.
So I love alliteration. So as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking of the letter C over and over again. So
Yeah.
we got context, right?
Yeah.
We have community-driven.
Yeah.
It's about communication, coordination,
Correct.
collaboration, and connectivity.
Yeah.
The last
Did I lose any C's?
No, but the last one I would throw in there is customer-centric.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? And so a lot of areas like agencies...
You
have
got
to-
2 C's in there, by the way.
Right?
Customer-centric. I
I'm
love
all
it.
here to support your mission here, right? And agencies have to focus on running buses and trains,
Yeah.
and that's at the heart their special sauce, their special skill, right? And if almost anywhere in the country, if you're a customer trying to navigate and you're going across city lines or county lines, you end up potentially interfacing with anywhere from 2 to
Right.
8 agencies. Maybe not
Right.
8 here, it's more like 4 sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nobody that really kind of brings those all to you. But employers can retain employees longer. They can
Right.
recruit people better if it's easier to get to work.
Sure.
And so the TMAs end up being the help to the employers, and through the employers to the employees.
Correct.
And so it's like this great, like just community service to bring our multi-agency, transportation service and make it feel like it's just one delivered specifically for you. And that's usually a gap that if you're in a small county with no traffic, people don't have to worry about.
Right.
Like where there's 2 or 3 more people riding the bus doesn't make a lot of difference to traffic. But as we've seen, we're like the 6th, but according to INREX, like the 6th worst congestion in the country based on like lost productivity. We're the 11th or 12th worst in the world due to the cost of lost productivity. And it's because we're popular. And
we're a victim of our own success,
Right.
right?
Correct.
And as we've gotten more complex, we have to
Yeah.
look to more complex mechanisms,
Yep.
to solve our problems
Yeah.
collectively.
Yeah.
I got collective in there.
we're going to have a long list for you.
That's the customer part is super important because as a transit user, because I use transit and I come from Broward,
Yeah.
I live in Broward, but I come all the way down, take Tri-Rail, Metro Rail, and so on, and then having the ability to navigate all those different services in a pretty smooth way is
Right.
extremely important. And I'm a transit rider by choice, not by necessity. So the idea is not only to service those that they need transit to get to work or school or shop or whatever, but also make transit as a competitive option. Or if you make it competitive, if you make it appealing, if you make it because we want people to have the freedom to move the way they feel that they need to move.
Yeah.
But if you make a specific type of mode competitive, they will choose that on their own, and
Love.
that's the whole idea about this. It's like with bicycles. I mean, I'm coming back to my bicycle hat. I constantly deal with bikelash. I like to use that word.
Bikelash, I haven't heard that.
It's for folks who think that bicycles are not, a meaningful way of moving around.
Right.
So you have to make that mode specifically useful. And if it's not useful, folks are not gonna decide to use it.
By the way, I am keeping count. We've now added competitive, choice, and cycling.
Yeah.
We need a ding.
Yeah.
Like, ding, ding, every time we got a C in there.
Folks, if you hear a C, drink, take a shot.
It's a drinking game now. Man, they're going to be drunk in a matter of minutes. Now, Jonathan, you have practical experience in
Yeah.
actually running a TMA.
Right.
I think you worked at one in Seattle.
As the executive director in
and-
Commute Seattle,
okay.
and now,
And now Palm Beach. Tell us about those specific TMAs, what they did, and some of the results.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of which one we should start with first. So maybe we'll start with Commute Seattle. Seattle, like us in South Florida, was under a lot of pressure of growth. Amazon added 50,000 jobs to one downtown in America over less than a decade. And so luckily they'd already set up a structure starting in like 2006 locally, and then some like state rules that employers asked for help dealing with congestion because it's causing problems them getting their employees to work. And that's the thing about TMAs. This is about hard numbers that really matter, like to the bottom line of companies, and just kind of the recruitment and retention of the best people. So in Washington State, there was kind of like a mandate that big employers should work together with the government, just like inform their employees about different ways to get to work. And so this work in Seattle was, Jesus ride bikes and rides transit out of principle, but he's a choice rider. This is all about getting choice riders. And those choice riders oftentimes have nice jobs in a dense area. And so the way to reach those people easiest is through their employer.
Right.
And I think of TMAs as like you're an apple picker in an orchard, right? And you start with the biggest tree, right? And you go shake it. Downtown Miami, it's probably government.
The low-hanging fruit.
And then a couple big law firms,
Right.
some real estate ventures, and you go shake that tree, get as many apples off of it, and put them on a bus or get them to bike or walk, and then go to the next one. But a big piece of this is just showing them how they can, and then a lot of times employers start to find out that giving somebody a bus pass is way cheaper than giving them free parking
Right.
all the time. So in Seattle, that
And they could do a
works.
little work
As a
on
benefit,
the right end.
right? As a
benefit,
benefit
sure.
of the part of the
Right.
Sure.
And like I stepped into that job and there'd been 20 years of history of this. So, it'd already been created, right? But the outcome was that 100,000 jobs were added to downtown Seattle and only 6,000 cars. So 93% of the job growth didn't add to congestion, to peak hour congestion.
By
There's-
choice.
Yeah.
It's not
and-
like people were forced out of their cars, right?
No. I mean, people will choose, like tech companies like Amazon and Microsoft offer free bus passes, right? And people will choose not to go to certain companies because they don't offer the benefit.
Right.
Yeah.
And so part of that was the agencies having a beneficial product that if the employers are involved, they got, and if they involved all their employees, then they got this really beneficial discount. So we don't have like that long history of those programs that currently exist here. So then starting a TMA in Palm Beach County is pretty interesting. But we started out with voluntary companies to be involved in an initiative that South Florida Community Services,
So, for example, who are some of those companies like that involved?
Aramark, Kimley Horn,
believe Related
Aramark
Group
at
is a
Palm
big-
Beach Atlantic, Related Ross, Good Samaritan Hospital. And so we had this pilot program with them and provided just 3 months of free transit and bike share access and free van pool. And then kind of the instruction how to do it. So we'd go to the employers and fit it within their culture of like, these are benefits for you. One of the most stunning things when I said it comes down, like it hits people on real important, like real hard numbers. Aramark found that their absences and people coming late to work went down 26%. Well, we had this pilot program. It didn't cost them anything to run this for 3 months. And then they found like their absences went down by 26% year over year, 19% quarter over quarter. And so they have like their national team comes and checks numbers and audits sometimes. And they're like, how did you not lose anybody? Because people get fired if they miss 7 days of work. How did you not lose anybody during this past quarter? And they said, well, it seems like we had this program and people, when their ride fell through, they had a backup or they just switched and started taking the bus or whatever. And it's more reliable because some people have their car break down. Like, and so this helps with employers because it cost them $2,500 every time they had to get a new employee. And so as soon as the program ended, they lost 7 people. And so that shows how recruitment retention and bottom line numbers, it really matters. And it also matters to employees. We have one of the highest, like South Florida is the highest cost of transportation plus housing together as a share of our income in the country.
Yep.
And so if you can help somebody go from 3 cars to 2 or 2 cars to 1 or 1 to 0, that's
Right.
like nearly a 20% pay raise.
Right.
And,
Which they can then put towards housing
and
or
I ask
something,
people, like,
that's
raise your
not
hand if you
affordable.
don't want a 20% pay
in my
raise.
case, in my household,
Yeah.
my wife and I only have 1 car. I don't
Yeah.
have a car, so I take transit
Yeah.
everywhere I go.
Sure.
Um,
Save a
and-
ton of money.
And because my house is equidistant from Brightline and Tri-Rail,
Yeah.
if I'm urgently wanting to go somewhere, I take Brightline. But if I can, just relax, I take Tri-Rail. So it's about making it competitive for folks, making it the option.
And listen, people like to focus on the shiny things.
Yeah.
I've said this a lot in previous shows. And shiny things, cost a lot of money. And
Yeah.
particularly, and when you have a lot of money, sure, throw money at a
Right.
big project, build out $1 billion transit
take a
line.
lot of time.
That's great, and take a lot of time. And those still need to be done.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, it's much more cost effective, particularly in lean times, to focus on getting people to use what you already have.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
It's there for
Yeah.
the taking. Let's make it attractive. Let's encourage people to use it. Let's promote it. Right? These things cost very little and have a huge return on investment.
Yeah.
And yet, for some reason, we don't focus enough on that. We focus, we spent a ton of money on these big projects and not enough on the small things.
And I feel that TMAs can also help with the cultural acceptance of transit.
Right. Move that stigma.
As my parents, they're boomers, and they were raised that you have to have a car to be successful. I don't know if your parents were told you that you had to have a car. When I told my mother that I was getting rid of my car, she was like, "Oh my God, what I do? What did I do wrong with? What did I do wrong with as a mother? I failed." So it's about changing the conversation, because a lot of, especially here, not so much up north, when you like in cities like Boston or like New York or Philadelphia, where you have transit is more acceptable.
Sure.
But here it's
Northwest is the same, different mindset.
It's here. There's a stigma. If you ride the bus, you're less than. And then I feel that that's not the case. I remember before COVID, when we used to have the e-bus from the Fort Lauderdale station all the way to downtown, that was on the express lanes. It was everybody that was on suits and they were doing work, and then it was regular people that you would not necessarily see on a bus. So that image is important to showcase that it's normal to ride a bus. It's not something dirty or.
And I'm wondering, is there something about Miami in particular that, because we have such a large population of immigrants who come here with very little, and the first major purchase that they can make, that kind of shows that they've made it, right, is a car. Maybe they can't own that home yet, but damn it, I got that car.
Yeah.
And it's a source of pride.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying, that if for the TMAs to be successful here in Miami-Dade County, that cultural aspect that is very unique to Miami-Dade County, and it's more so prominent than in Broward and Palm Beach, has to be dealt with, and it has to be an important component of the roles of the TMA.
Great point.
And to quote like the former mayor of Bogota, like he would say that the sign of a wealthy society is not where every poor person in a car, but where every rich person rides transit. And that is really literally true. That in the space it takes on the freeway for your car to be driving, that holds 1.2 people, that could be like nearly 200 people on a bus. Like the spatial difference is 2 orders of magnitude difference. So when you get more folks to ride, like Metro Rail and Metro Mover used to haul 120,000 people a day. And when you move that many people without their cars, then you have more space for actual business activity. You don't have to have as many parking decks, and you can have just more space for adding jobs. And that means that you get more taxes, because there's more tax intensity from those areas. Not a higher tax rate. I'm not saying a higher tax rate. You might have a lower tax rate, but you get more businesses that pay taxes in the same amount of space. You get more residences that pay taxes in the same amount of space. And so that is like, Metro Rail is busy, but again, it used to haul 120,000 people in the late, 2015, 16, 17. And so a program like a TMA, one of the jobs is really a ridership program that brings everybody together and say, hey, we all win when more people are on the train. And so it's not just about DTPW changing culture. It's not just about me and Jesus changing culture. It's about enlisting everybody.
Sure.
And people listen to their employers, and they respond to their employers' incentives, because that's like, we do different things on healthcare. We have an FSA or all these different things. So making benefits part of this is how you help change that culture.
And celebrating the small wins.
Yeah.
Every little, if we, for example, I love it when Tri-Rail celebrated the last fiscal year was the highest ridership that we have ever had. And I've taken Tri-Rail since I was a teenager. So, and I've seen the changes from from Tri-Rails from the the late 90s, early 2000s to now. It is a very different type of services, and I can say that it is, in my opinion, is a well-run service. So celebrating.
Shout out to David Deck and his team. They do a great job at Tri-Rail.
If we need to celebrate those, we need to celebrate that transit is successful, because transit typically is not here to make money, and then I don't.
It's here to make other people able to make money.
Money. So
It's a public good.
It's a public good. So I feel that having that, and having that ability to celebrate those wins is extremely important for as a transportation system to be successful.
So I think we've sold everybody on the TMAs and all the great things they can do. And so, okay, what does that mean for Miami-Dade County? We then looked at what are some specific areas, cities, neighborhoods, combinations, where these might make sense. So, what are, let's go with like the top 3 or 5. Like, where we think that these things can make sense, and some areas where people have already expressed interest in pursuing one.
And I think that's a really important point. Like, there's the math of where is it dense enough and where there are enough services where it could be, kind of like objectively feasible. But it only works if you have a combination of the math and the passion of some local leaders, whether in a chamber or an elected or somebody else. Like, if you have the numbers but no passionate leadership, then nothing's going to get solved.
Sure.
If you have passionate leadership but not the numbers, you don't have options. And so another thing to think about is any place where there's eds or meds, those institutions that have campuses, they, for every car they don't have, they can have more space for surgeries or more space for things that people pay for. And so they influence so much of people's lives that go to those facilities. They are natural first leaders. And then looking at density. So places like downtown plus maybe Civic Center, separately or together. Coral Gables in South Miami is an example.
I would
around
say,
the University of Miami. And
correct. So important. I think that the Miami Beach, of course. And we looked at several cases that actually cross county borders. For example, Aventura, because the Aventura Mall area does a lot of, there's a lot of dynamics with Hallandale, the area, Southern Broward.
I heard the other day, I don't know if this is true, but, it could possibly be, that Aventura draws more visitors to the state of Florida than anyone else. And this is a state.
To the mall?
To that mall. It's the busiest place in the state, even compared to Disney, which really shocked me.
Okay.
I'm like, I never go to Aventura, but that's huge.
They haven't drawn me but twice. But
yeah, so we looked.
But just imagine the number of people that we're talking about. So yes, that would be a very logical place.
It could be also the area like in Doral, close, combining Doral, Sweetwater, and
because FIU's out there.
There's also other options like in South Dade. Now that we have the BRT again, I was able to ride it on Tuesday for a site visit. I went on the bus to do site visits.
You have Miami-Dade College Homestead campus. You have the Falls. You have several kind of major employment hubs.
And for South Dade, that is an area that is growing exponentially. It's the fastest growing area. In Miami-Dade County. It's gonna change, and if you ride the BRT, I'll invite everybody to ride the BRT. If you're in South Dade, if you ride it at the stops, you start seeing development going around it.
It's already attracting,
and it's already attracting that, and you're gonna have mini little cities at the stations, and that's gonna generate a lot of foot traffic and businesses. So. Having the possibility to attract more folks to use the transit and create those little cities, and that will be it will benefit the economic prosperity of those locations down south.
And multiple ones, right? Because it's obviously, if we're going to grow, where do you want to grow? You want to grow along transit lines for multiple reasons. So I absolutely agree with you. It's a ton of opportunity along South Corridor. Now, historically, people said, BRT doesn't, or buses don't attract development. We're proving that to be wrong because it's already happening. They started building even before in anticipation of this. So that's great. Jonathan, you were saying?
Yeah, and thinking about, you talked about like the cost effectiveness of this, right? A car lane moves more or less 1,000 people an hour depending on the speed of it, right? But if you just think about Miami-Dade College and the hospitals, HCA and Baptist, like just working with a few big employers, you can affect essentially nearly a car lane of people at rush hour, right? And that, everybody wants to get less congestion. We also want lower housing prices, but we usually, if housing gets stopped being built anywhere around here, it's because people don't want the congestion.
Sure.
Well, we're kind of screwed either way, right? You don't get the housing, you pay more. You get the congestion, you pay more. And so this is the magic bullet that allows you to have the growth in more residents and jobs without getting, the goal should be for every new resident and job we add, we don't add net a car. Right. And that's what has worked at Stanford did this, and they're able to, for 35 years, build whatever they wanted, and they made an agreement with the county. They could build whatever they wanted. No special permits were required. It was just one master use permit. as long as peak hour traffic didn't go up. And they managed it. There's places around Boston that have done the same thing. And so, we all want affordable housing, and we all want jobs, but so the only thing that gets between us and that is congestion. And so this is the way to make more housing and more jobs possible.
And I think that congestion, because we all suffer from it. And at the transportation forum yesterday, that was mentioned that whether you're Black, Chinese, Puerto Rican, whatever, we all suffer from traffic congestion at one point.
It's a common denominator.
It's a common denominator, yeah.
It's everybody's favorite thing.
But
we consume it so much.
Sure,
it's everybody's favorite thing.
We all love being stuck in traffic.
We must be, because we keep doing it to ourselves. Right?
But I feel that there's got to be the way to sell it to people, and especially in these times, is to link it with economic prosperity.
Yeah.
I feel that for the naysayers, we have a lot of NIMBYs, or whatever you want to call it, non-believers. I feel that they're an opportunity to be converted. I feel that the TMAs are coalition building. Perhaps you agree with me.
Coalition. Ding.
So
converted.
Whether they are supportive or not, I feel that their voices need to be heard nonetheless.
Absolutely.
So I feel that having that evaluation, and we don't do this often. We do a lot of evaluation about productivity with congestion and how that affects economically productivity and businesses. We don't do that with other modes. We don't do so now we added a bike lane here. Is your revenue as a business went up and down after the addition of this new type of mode? Because a lot of backlash that we get is because they want, where are they going to park?
Yeah.
What are you doing with my parking?
Right.
Don't mess with my parking. I'm not gonna have customers because I don't have anywhere to park. So having that metrics to convince others that are not so in tune with that is important.
I think of it just a little bit different in that, like in Seattle, we would talk about, you get more riders on the bus, and choice riders that have influence and they talk to their electeds and different things like that, and then they expect service to get better, infrastructure to get better, and that causes more people to ride. But really, I think the best, we're dealing with all sorts of different organizations here. The best way is to just build literacy of how to use this thing and use incentives to get some people on it. And that can maybe encourage us to make the hard numbers work. So a lot of reasons why people won't ride the bus is it takes twice as long. In many cases, not on the BRT corridor. Right? But if we can build enough of a clamoring of people that are going to ride that thing together, it can give us opportunities to have a bus lane that causes the bus to go faster than the congestion. When you do that, that's how you actually get choice rights. We can convince a few people on principled ways, or it can be, you can work while you're on the bus or while you're on the train. You don't have to be, you're not kind of white knuckled when you ride.
YouTubing it,
Right. And so everybody has a different kind of measure of that.
Right.
But so building the literacy, we have a bunch of people in Palm Beach County. They're like, oh, I've never ridden the bus before, and it's been transformative for them. But now we need to keep on making the service better, like we have done on the South Corridor, so that it will work for the folks that need the hard numbers to work. I need it to go in the same amount of time.
Right.
And that's what really has the biggest impact.
So we have thousands of people watching this podcast, of course.
Millions.
And some of them might be interested in this, right? So if I'm a city official, if I'm a Chamber of Commerce member, if I'm one of these institutions, and you've piqued my interest, what's your advice on next steps? What should I do? In order to continue to explore TMA
I think
get a group together.
The approach that, for example, we have some municipalities that we already have talked to, and we have several meetings already. That is the right approach. First, let's get together. Let's see what's the common ground between us to be more efficient and effective to provide those services that perhaps there are gaps, and we can cover those gaps. And by looking at that, for example, we provide municipal transit, and we can be able to expand it to your other municipality right next to us. perhaps that TMA can help to set up an interlocal agreement, and they can get together and cover those gaps. So it's important for municipalities to start with the conversation with nearby new municipalities and see what their gaps are. And I have this service and you don't have this service, and we can get together too. Because ultimately, we're not isolated. We're, we all a happy family, Miami-Dade County family. So we have to work together to make sure that everything works.
And our citizens and our residents and our visitors are not, contained within those
to
municipal
one-
boundaries,
exactly.
right? I live here, I work there, I study there, I shop here.
Correct. So having that conversation is not hard.
So in West Palm Beach, where we started WPBGO, the West Palm Beach Mobility Coalition, it was like late 2022, early 2023. I think the biggest differentiator along the lines of what you said is that was started because a head of the DDA, somebody from Related Ross, and somebody from the chamber thought it was a good idea. And, government's job is to come up with good ideas, but what will set it apart is when you have visionary leaders that are cross-sector.
Yeah.
And if it's just government that's leading the charge, then it becomes just another, it's another government agency, and you lose some of the special sauce. I'm not saying it's not useful, but it's really key to find a major employer or a chamber or a DDA or something that shows a champion, and ideally champions from a couple different sectors, because that is the definition of the special sauce that makes this possible. Because there's not a lot of places where we bring government and the private sector and where they get behind all the oars together. Right. And this sort of option is exactly that. And like in West Palm Beach, we meet monthly with all the stakeholders that fund the organization, public and private, includes all of our transit and transportation departments and agencies, city and county, and a bunch of private sector folks. And like the first time we met, it was going to be 60 minutes every other month because it's a small city in West Palm Beach. And folks said we need to meet more often, it needs to be longer, which nobody ever says that. But it was the engagement that they were hungry for to solve problems together, problems that we see every single day, and all fighting from our corners wasn't getting solved. And 2.5 years later, they're still doing the same thing. So that's been really kind of like just stunning to see. And you can see that they're hungry for it. We're not making them show up.
And one other thing that I think would be helpful, and it's kind of the role we're playing, is a facilitator, right? And so we're not necessarily providing the service, or we're not, one of these stakeholders per se, but we think it's a good idea, and we're happy to bring and convene people together. So if you're out there and you're interested in exploring a TMA for your community, reach out to our organization, CITT, and we'll be happy to have a conversation and to get some of you together to see if it's something that makes sense and that we want to explore. It may not be, right? This isn't for everyone, as you said, but we do believe there's plenty of opportunity out there. It provides an enormous ROI. We didn't talk about how much it costs to set up one of these TMAs, but it's negligible practically.
You have different levels, and depending of the type of involvement that you want to establish, but it depends.
We're talking about a few $100,000 at most, right? I mean, this is really not a lot of money.
And in the first year, way less. Just to get
and because there are so many partners, right? Everyone just has to put in a little, and it adds up. So great. If people want to learn more about EXP and smart cities. Smart Cities. Did I get this? Smart Mobility Associates. I know I got it wrong. Where should they go?
Well, you can go to exp.com and learn about us. We are a 4,000 employee company.
Wow.
So we do everything from mining to transportation. So whatever you need, we're here.
We're here. We just learned some new things today. I didn't know that.
So if you need me, I mean, if you need anything with regards to either TMAs or bicycles or Vision Zero, which is my other passion.
So important.
We'll have you guys back on the show for those other topics.
Of course.
Then for me, if we've set up a TMA in West Palm Beach called WPBGO. So the easiest email address to remember is just go@wpbgo.com. And my team can answer that, so you can find out anything about how we did what we did. It's been successful so far, and it's helped be an inspiration for this work down here through great partnership with so many good people working on this.
Yes.
And I would also encourage you to visit our website, miamidade.gov/CITT, where you will find the TMA study and recommendations produced by these gentlemen and their team. So Guys, we're out of time. I want to thank you for being on here.
When's the sequel?
This is a long time.
When's the sequel?
What are you
Yes.
doing tomorrow? I'm on a roll, man. I'm on a roll.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you do in trying to improve our community. You're really making a difference. We appreciate
So are you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, thank you for tuning in. That is all the time we have here on this segment of Mobility Matters, but you can find us here every other Thursday from 9:30 to 10:30. We have a great list of guests in the near future, so make sure to tune in. I want to thank our partners in this endeavor, Miami's Community News, for producing the program in this lovely studio space. And yeah, that's it. So we'll see you next time. And in the meantime, keep moving, Miami.